Thank you all for taking the time to join us to talk a little bit about asset management and mold monitoring. I'm going to go through a little bit about our basic asset management system as well as mold monitoring systems. Molds are our most valuable asset. If you're a molder or an OEM, without the mold, you're not making parts. Without parts, the production and supply chain is impacted. So it's always critical to understand what our molds are doing at all times, but not only what they're doing, but where are they? We hear that as a common problem in the marketplace where it's time to run a mold, it's a service mold, hasn't run in a while, and all of a sudden you can't find the mold. So understanding where they are is probably step one prior to being able to produce any parts. So what I wanted to share with you first is a little bit about ProFile, which is our asset management system. ProFile works as a asset management system for production. So we're not looking at it like you would from a typical ERP standpoint where you're focused on financial metrics. We're really looking at what's more useful to the production floor, the tooling teams, and those that are most close to the asset on a day-to-day basis. ProFile can be accessed in a few different ways. If you're currently a Progressive customer, our CVE monitor is an electronic cycle counter that monitors cycle times and efficiencies. Using the serial number on the monitor, you have access to ProFile automatically. Also, our mechanical counters also have serial numbers and URLs on the front that allow you to access ProFile. So it's an easy way to be able to access the system without having to have additional hardware or additional expenses. Another way of accessing the system is through asset tags. And these asset tags also have a QR code on them. And those QR codes serve a couple of purposes. One, when you scan a QR code, you can simply use any device, walk up to it, scan it, and you're going to see all of the basic information about that asset, identifying pictures, and then GPS location, which is automatically pushed to the website. So now just by simply scanning that tag, you can see where in the world your mold is. Also, you have files and folders that allow you to share documents. It's an all cloud-based system, so being cloud-based, anybody that you give access to anywhere in the world is able to access the files. If you're a mold builder, for example, that's a great tool. Instead of getting requests from your customers to constantly send updated drawing files or somebody lost a print and spending the engineering time or clerical time to put all of that together and send it is time consuming and expensive. So being able to simply upload it to the site, share access, and provide that information is a huge savings for a mold builder. For molders and OEMs, it's a great way to share information and make sure everybody's on the same page. So as we look at the screen here, this is a sample of how ProFile shows you your assets. So we've got all of our assets displayed in pie charts here, and we can see at a glance how many assets we have and all the different types. So this isn't really just for molds. You can use this for any type of asset. So end-of-arm tooling, robots, auxiliary equipment, any type of asset can have a tag put on it and be maintained in the same system. When we look at an asset within ProFile, this is a sample of an asset page, and this is kind of what gives you the outline of what that asset is. So here you can see all of the basic information. You can go as detailed as you want and add custom fields so you can customize the pages. But the idea is to get a complete view of what that asset is, where it's at, and what its current condition is. As I mentioned, on the app, you see the identifying picture and the location. Same thing shows up on the website, and then the documents folders. Again, for easy file sharing across the globe. Anywhere you have internet access, you have access to this information. Within ProFile, you also get the benefit of having an integrated preventive maintenance system and a work order system. So if you have a manual system or an Excel-based system, this gives you the flexibility to put all of that information into the same database where you're storing your assets. So it's really a single source for all assets within the manufacturing environment. So understanding where those assets are, as I mentioned, the QR code gives you that capability, and this gives you all of the information about it. That's one piece of the puzzle. The next piece is really getting into the real-time aspect of it and understanding exactly what's happening. Now that you know where your mold is, how is it actually performing? So with the addition of a couple of pieces of hardware and still utilizing our CVE monitor, we're able to push real-time data up to the cloud. So now, no matter where you are in the world, again, you know exactly how your tool's running. Am I hitting cycle times? Am I meeting standards? Are efficiencies, OEEs up to standard? It's an easy way to be able to track your molds across the globe without having to leave your desk. So when we look at CVE Live and performance monitoring, it's nice to be able to come in the morning, see a dashboard, and see exactly what's running on the production floor, which tools are running, which presses are running. Also understanding if you're meeting your cycle time and efficiency goals. All of that can be easily accessed and gives you the information you need to manage your business. In addition, preventive maintenance obviously is a key. We want to reduce unscheduled mold stoppages whenever we can. Those are deadly to our process. So anytime we can understand what's going on and proactively maintain our tools, that's to our advantage. So we've got a full preventive maintenance system built right into CVE Live that gives you an easy way to see exactly what the condition is. Are your molds being maintained? Are they coming up for maintenance? Are they past due for maintenance? Having this as a tool room manager, for example, allows you not only to see if any actions need to be taken, but really be able to plan out your day, plan out your activities, plan out your labor in your tool room, and stay ahead of the problems. All of this is obviously on the preventive side, and as you start to gather historical data, you can start working more towards predictive maintenance using the data that you're compiling. There's a lot of information that goes into managing the assets. So much like ProFile, there's all of the basic information about the assets, but then actually going in and on a real-time system, entering what your targets and your goals are so you know if you're meeting those targets. So whether it's cycle time, efficiency, OEE, all of those, it's not enough to just gather all the data. You really need to know how you're performing against standards to make sure you can drive continuous improvement activities. And all of the data that's being collected here is towards that end. Within the system, it's as much or as little of a system as you want it to be or need it to be. We're collecting every single cycle, so you know time and date stamped when every occurrence happen. So if you need traceability, you're a medical molder, you need to be able to provide historical data or traceability when you have a quality issue. All of that information is easily accessible and at your fingertips. So there's a variety of data that's collected, and you as a user can figure out exactly what applies best to your application and customize it. Another important aspect of CVE Live is really alerts. Nobody wants to have to come in the morning and just look at a screen to see what happened or if something's out of tolerance. So being able to get alerts, whether it be text messages or email alerts. So when something does go out of tolerance, you can decide what you want to know about and how you want to be notified. So it gives you a lot of flexibility in that regard and really completes the cycle as far as knowing what your asset, where your asset is, what your asset's doing, and all of the performance metrics around it. So this kind of covers what you would be monitoring from a mold maintenance and some basic production metrics. to give you the information you need. Another aspect of mold monitoring is really what's going on inside your mold. Cooling is about 60% of a typical mold cycle time. So understanding what's happening in that 60% of time, there's a lot of benefit when you're looking at continuous improvement activities, reducing cycle times, trying to reduce defects, and scrap. So we're going to move over just a little bit here to a system cooling demonstration. So as I mentioned, with cooling being 60% of cycle, anytime you can work on 60% of your cycle, obviously there's a huge benefit on the cycle time side of it. But once you really understand what's going on inside your mold, you now have the capability to define what's a good part, what's a bad part in terms of flow and temperature, and it acts as an early warning system. So if you go outside of those tolerances, you know that there's something that has to happen to react to the changes. So what we have here is system cooling. It's a manifold system with integrated sensor technology that allows you to monitor flow and temperature through every circuit of the mold. So you're not just getting a general overview of what's going on when the water is coming in and when it's coming out on the overall mold. You're actually seeing it for every single circuit. So what we've got here on the screen is a typical 8-zone manifold, and we're able to see the inlet temperature. That's going to be based on whatever your thermalator or water supply is sending into the manifold. That's going to be a single temperature for the entire manifold. And then if we can look closely at any one of these, so we're looking at, let's say, channel 5 here, we can see on the bottom right-hand corner our outlet temperature. So we're measuring it on the out leg, so we know the in and the out, and we're easily able to see our delta T. So are we removing enough heat from the system? Are we optimizing our cooling? When we look at the bottom left-hand corner here, now we can see our flow in gallons per minute. And obviously it's very important to make sure we have enough flow to achieve turbulent flow and, again, optimize our cooling. So we've got our flow in gallons per minute. And then at the top left, we have our Reynolds number. So as you start to learn more about your process and understand if you've got laminar, transitional, or turbulent flow, obviously the target being turbulent flow, this will give you an easy way of knowing if you're achieving that or not. And if you're not, then you know that's a cavity or a water line that needs to be worked on. The other areas that this really helps with is if you've got small water lines, if you're doing conformal cooling, more prone to blockages or buildup. It's a great way of knowing if you have any changes in flow before it starts affecting the parts. As I mentioned, not just for conformal cooling, but for any type of cooling, you're going to eventually have buildup in the water lines. You're going to have potential blockages. So this allows you to see those in advance and make sure that you're not making bad parts and really catch it early on in the process. It's a great way of baselining data, understanding exactly what your flow is when you have a new mold, and then over time what's occurring. So again, we talked about preventive maintenance. This gives you the information to be able to do preventive maintenance and cleaning, but it also gives you the information to start working, again, towards predictive maintenance, which is what we all want to get to. So this is kind of another technology that's out there for mold monitoring. I know I've covered quite a bit in a short amount of time, but I wanted to give just a quick overview of all of the systems that are out there. All of these work in conjunction with one another to make sure we're optimizing processes, make sure we're optimizing performance of our tools. For more information on any of these products, please feel free to reach out to us after the demo, and we're happy to answer any questions or share any information that you might be looking for. Thank you for your time.